What's up, Fit Rich fam? It's your host, Justin David Carl, aka Dragon, aka your favorite life alchemist. Welcome to another solo episode of the Fit Rich Life podcast. As I stated before, I'm committed to growing as a solo podcaster and getting super confident doing it. You gain confidence and skill through experience, so that's what I'm doing. I still have plenty of guest episodes in the works, but I'm committed to staying on my growth edge and consciously improving my solo podcasting by doing it. Learn and grow by doing it. This is the way. In this episode, I'm going to share some reflections on my 9 years of sobriety and why an addictive personality is a double-edged sword that can be your superpower or your kryptonite. I'm also going to share an improved strategy to optimize your cash savings, as well as how to go about achieving your big goals. Before we dig into the episode, a couple of notes. If you found value in this podcast, please consider sharing it with a friend and leaving me a five-star rating on Spotify and Apple. This helps support the show and reach more people. We're all in this together, and when we do the work of fitness, money, and life together, we go so much farther, so much faster, and have so much more fun. If you enjoy your podcast entertainment on YouTube, I've recently upgraded to full video production, so check me out on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm slowly but surely creating more content for YouTube, and your support is what makes the Fit Rich dream work. Lastly, if you'd like to get a short, actionable email with tips, tools, and strategies to take your fitness, money, and life to the next level, I send out an email every single week that will prime you to reach new levels in your fitness, money, and life. Join thousands of readers who are optimizing their fitness, money, and life. Sign up at fitrichlife.com/newsletter. No spam, just empowering AF and easy to unsubscribe if you decide it's not for you. All right, the first section of this podcast, fitness. Sobriety is a superpower. Labor Day 2023 marks 9 years sober for me. For as long as I can remember, I've been obsessive. Even as a kid, I get super into things and go hard as fuck. I would play video games for 3 to 4 plus hours after school and easily log 8 to 10 hours a day over the weekend and also during summer break. In sports, I'd obsessively practice well above and beyond the team practices. I'd run in the morning before school, practice soccer on my own in between team practice, and it goes on. Literally for 10 plus years, I'd work out 7 days a week for 2 to 3 hours a day. Then I would also go hike for an additional 2 to 3 hours, an additional 3 to 5 times a week. And I'd even work out when I got sick. Thank you, NyQuil. When I was working in the Hollywood nightclub business, I got heavily into alcohol, weed, and Adderall. For 7 years straight, I literally smoked all day, every day, took Adderall every day, and drank 7 days a week when I was working in the nightclubs, which was pretty much 7 days a week. At the time, I didn't consider myself an addict, telling myself I could stop anytime I wanted, but I was definitely lying to myself. I was a so-called functioning alcoholic and drug user. I would even consider myself a high-functioning alcoholic and drug user if there is such a thing. I still worked out every day and maintained gainful employment, but deep down, I knew this lifestyle was killing my life, literally killing my life. My fitness, personal and professional growth, and wealth literally flatlined during these 7 years of addiction. My income stayed about the same. My net worth actually got worse as the Adderall lent itself to impulsive purchasing and living well beyond my means. It seems like life wasn't necessarily getting worse, but it wasn't getting any better. And the truth is, I was silently sliding into deeper and deeper debt and depression, but I hid from it with drugs and alcohol. The alcohol and drugs kept me just comfortable enough not to make a change, especially the weed. All of my free time and social fun revolved around drinking and doing drugs. It literally revolved around getting high, getting drunk, and pretending like life was awesome. I remember during this time in my life that all my old Stanford friends thought I was living the dream, working and partying in the hottest nightclubs of Hollywood with celebrities, hot girls, and the mega rich. Inside, I knew I was unhappy with my career, relationships, and the life I was living. This resulted in me becoming deeply depressed, but I hid from it with substance abuse. Eventually, with the help of family, my wife, and professional help through therapy and coaching, I got sober from marijuana first. Reflecting on my life, I was able to actually recognize that marijuana had killed my internal drive to grow in most areas of my life. Literally, I was one of those people who was so driven to do big things in life. Literally, I grew up in a really small town in Washington State, and from about third grade, dreamed of going to Stanford. And for pretty much like 9 years, every decision I made was based on the fact, will this help me get into Stanford or will it hinder me from getting into Stanford? And I was just so focused and so driven. So back to the marijuana. About 2 weeks into sobriety from marijuana, I fell into very deep depression. For the record, I was still drinking and doing Adderall when I got sober from marijuana. I got sober from marijuana in February 27th of 2013, actually. But after about 2 weeks, I fell into deep depression, literally suicidal depression. And it wouldn't be until really another 1 to 1.5 years until I also let go of alcohol and Adderall. But back to the depression. So for about 4 months, I went through really intense suicidal ideation after stopping the marijuana use. I was kind of okay for about 2 weeks, and then just like deep depression set in. And Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of psychotherapy and psychology, said that depression is Mother Nature's way of resetting the psyche. And this is definitely what I was going through. So for, pretty much like 7 years, I was just stuffing every single emotion, non-positive emotion down with marijuana, alcohol, and Adderall use. And I just basically ran from any challenging emotions or thoughts by just getting high and getting drunk all the time. So during this depression, I literally could barely get out of bed before about 2:00 in the afternoon. And when I did finally get up, I used massive amounts of caffeine and Adderall just to get going for the day. Fortunately, I was still able to work out. That was one of the things that kind of helped me get through this period, is I would still, make it to the gym, work out for a couple hours. And I was definitely still doing a lot of hiking. And that time working out and hiking definitely helped me work through this. But, fortunately, I could get away with sleeping until 2 p.m. because I worked in nightclubs and I didn't start work until usually around 8 or 9 at night. But still, it was bad. I thought about ending my life pretty much every single day. I was so ashamed of not finishing my undergraduate degree at Stanford. Ultimately, I had ended up stopping out to figure out what I was going to do after college. And then I fell into the Hollywood nightlife, and it was a super addictive career in all facets. The money was crazy good. The social power was addictive as fuck. The lifestyle, just partying for a full-time job, it was really addictive. And ultimately, even about a year or two into it, I knew it wasn't for me for the long run, but I became so addicted to the money, the power, and the lifestyle that it took me like another 5 to 6 years to get out of it. So for my depression, I was also really ashamed of all the debt that I accumulated. and I was 6 years behind on my taxes. I think at this time I probably had around $80,000 in debt, and I felt so behind. I was in my early 30s, and I really felt like I should have way more to show. Like, honestly, I felt like a total failure. Like, I hadn't completed my lifelong dream of going to Stanford. I was deep in debt. I was pretending like I was like super happy and living this awesome lifestyle, but it was like completely a facade. On the outside, things look great. I drove a fancy Range Rover, lived in a nice condo, and dressed nice clothes, went to all the fancy restaurants, threw the hottest parties in Hollywood. But really deep down, I was massively unhappy, and I was running from that unhappiness and avoiding it through significant drug and alcohol use. So initially, during this suicidal depression that lasted about 4 months, I really had no idea how to turn my life around. I felt really trapped in a lifestyle that was literally killing me emotionally, physically, and spiritually. But fortunately, I was able to talk to my mom, my dad, my brothers, and my then best friend, Carly, about what I was going through. So I was able to share with them that I was having this suicidal ideation, and that I was deeply depressed, and that I felt trapped, and that I needed to get out of this industry, but I didn't know how to. Fortunately, I would say I was lucky as fuck because my mom has been a licensed psychotherapist since I was really young, and I was able to basically talk to her like a therapist. And then my older brother had many bouts of addiction and recovery with harder drugs than I ever got into. So I was able to connect with him and just have somebody that really could relate to what I was going through. And ultimately, I decided that if I couldn't live for myself, I could at least hold on and keep living for the people who loved me. Because I didn't want to end my life, because thinking of what that would do to my parents and my brothers and my friends, and my best friend Carly, like I didn't want to do that to them. So even though I felt like I had nowhere to go and I was super, super ashamed and just like felt like a failure, I decided to keep living for the people that love me. So about 4 months into the deep, deep depression and suicidal ideation, things started to clear up. The haze started to clear up, and I realized that going back to Stanford to finish my childhood dream was the next step I needed to take in order to turn my life around. The best minds and hearts that I'd ever encountered in the highest concentration were during my time at Stanford. So I figured I could go back and finish up my degree and figure out what was next from then. It was super scary, and it was a real big leap of faith to leave my career in Hollywood nightlife. The money was really good and the lifestyle was so alluring, but I knew I couldn't become the man I wanted to be working in that environment. So I left it all behind, and I headed back to Stanford with the help of my then best friend, who would eventually become my wife. Things immediately got better when I got back to Stanford. I was in an environment where a new me was supported, healthier, happier, more well-being focused me was really emerging and being supported. And going back to Stanford is what would lead me to become a founding member of a Stanford startup that would ultimately go on to be one of the best career changes of my life, and also probably one of the best decisions of my life. But I'll save that story for another time. So let's stay focused on my journey to sobriety. Back at Stanford, I was sober from marijuana, and I started doing less Adderall, and my drinking was relegated to binge drinking on the weekend. So I still partied like a college student on the weekends, just getting hammered, drinking way too much on Friday and Saturday. But Monday through Thursday night, I was no longer drinking, and this was a huge upgrade for me. So now that I was no longer working in nightclubs 7 days a week, I didn't feel the need to drink every day. Eventually, through another stroke of luck, my best friend, who was still living in LA, became my girlfriend in during the Thanksgiving break of 2013. And eventually, a few months after that, some pretty wild circumstances would lead her to come move up to Menlo Park with me, and have her move from LA to come be with me. We could have never predicted this, honestly. When we did get together in November of 2013, we kind of had the conversation that, hey, like, we're in two different cities. She was in LA, I was in Menlo Park. If it took like 6 to 12 months for us to eventually move in together in the same city, we were okay with that. But some really crazy, wild things happened, and ultimately she ended up moving up and leaving her career back in LA as an established hair and makeup artist. And she basically took a huge leap of faith as well to come move up and be with me. She moved up in April of 2014. And when she moved up, that was really when I stopped taking Adderall. I think at the time, I didn't really tell her that I had been taking Adderall. I was still pretty secretive about it. Really, no one knew. I was kind of ashamed of it, and I felt like I needed it to be like focused and like, do my homework for Stanford classes, etc. But then when she moved up, I kind of just decided to stop using it. And then in September of 2014, I would finally end up completely letting go of alcohol. So basically from April to the end of September, or excuse me, the beginning of September, I was still drinking on the weekends. I would have wine and hard alcohol when I went out, or wine at home, wine or beer at home with my then girlfriend. But if it weren't for my wife casually inviting me to join her in 1 month of sobriety, the day after one particularly eventful Labor Day party, or Labor Day party day, where I had way too much whiskey and ended up literally vomiting out the window of the car as we drove home from our partying in Half Moon Bay back to our place in Menlo Park. I honestly don't know if I'd be sober today if it wasn't for my wife asking me to join her in 1 month of sobriety. So basically, after that fateful day of drinking way too much in Half Moon Bay, getting hammered drunk on whiskey and Diet Coke, I believe, throwing up out the side of the car. When she asked me the next day, I literally felt like so hungover and like such shit. I was like, sure, like happy to do 1 month because I feel terrible. I feel like ass. So 1 month actually turned to 2 months. And then at the end of 2 months, I was like, let's do another month. And my wife, being the crazy, incredible, transformative woman that she is, again, she was my girlfriend back then. So apologies for that. But my girlfriend back then, she was like, let's do 1 year. And I was like, whoa, a year? I don't know about that. I won't drink, but I need to think about this. So after about a week, I decided to accept the sobriety challenge, figuring that I basically drank for 12 plus years and my body deserved at least a 1 year break. And knowing that I had her as a sober ally, a friend that, even if I, couldn't hang out with my friends because they were out drinking or whatever, I could at least hang out with her. So I really attribute my success in my sobriety to having my then girlfriend, now wife, in my life doing the sober life with me. So this really was a huge change in my life because I then I was no longer doing any drugs or alcohol. I was like completely sober, really for the first time since about age 20. And I then reallocated and channeled my addictive personality into the life-enhancing activities of fitness, personal and professional growth, entrepreneurship, and wealth building. So all of my social activities shifted to these life-enhancing endeavors with people who supported my new sober lifestyle. It took me, honestly, about a year to learn how to have fun and love life without alcohol, but ultimately has been one of the best decisions of my life. I attribute a significant degree of my happiness today and my success today to becoming sober, as it empowered me to consciously channel my addictive personality into fruitful endeavors. In retrospect, it really is no wonder that I didn't get the body of my dreams, become a millionaire, or start living my best life until after I got sober. I now have a regular practice of reflecting on how I'm directing my addictive personality. This is just a part of who I am. So I don't try to deny that I have an addictive personality. I'm very open about it at this point in my life. And I know that it is just a part of me. So in my view, an addictive personality is a double-edged sword. It can be your superpower when applied wisely, or it can be your kryptonite when you let it run unchecked, especially when it's getting channeled into destructive behavior. So choose consciously and proactively. And lastly, don't be afraid to get help. I didn't do it alone, and neither should you. Before we jump to the next section of this episode, let's talk about my favorite alcohol alternative, which is Feel Free by Botanic Tonics. If you're watching on video for this particular podcast episode, you can see that I'm holding up this really cool looking cobalt blue bottle. This is the Feel Free bottle. It's by Botanic Tonics. And it really is my favorite alcohol alternative, which also doubles as an incredibly awesome productivity and creativity tool. It's made with kava and other ancient plants. In fact, it's 100% plant-based. All you need is half a shot to open up your creativity and get hyper-focused. I use just half a shot when I want to crush work projects, create content, write, and more. It's also my favorite pre-workout supplement. Effects last about 3 to 4 hours, so I'll usually have half a shot before my workout, then I'll crush my workout, and then I'll do 1 to 3 hours of creative work, and I just get so much fucking shit done. When I go out to something like a concert or a social event, it acts as a social lubricant and a heart opener, making conversation easy and interactions super fun and creative. Just like any substance, it must be used responsibly. Too much coffee or too much caffeinated beverages or too much caffeinated pre-workout powders. If you're like me, that makes, like when I have too much caffeine, my anxiety goes through the roof. And it's like too much of anything is not good, including too much Feel Free. So I limit myself to no more than 1 bottle a day, broken into 2 half shots. And I always make sure I have at least my last half shot 4 to 6 hours before bed. So nonetheless, it is hands down my favorite supplement and truly unlike anything I've ever had. You can save $40 off your first order by heading over to botanictonics.com and using code DRAGON at checkout. So before we dive into the money section, let me tell you about the shirt I'm wearing. So this is now my favorite clothing brand, and they are a proud sponsor, or I am proud to have them as a sponsor of the Fit Rich Life podcast. And the clothing company is called One Golden Thread. Their clothes are literally made from trees, and they plant a tree for every item purchased. They are incredibly fashionable, comfortable AF, truly sustainable, and regenerative clothing brand. So right now I'm wearing the tree tank. It's soft as fuck. It fits so good. I can wear it to the gym on a hot day, or out on a hot day, some of my other favorites are the crew neck tree shirt, the V-neck tree shirt, and the Kairos dusters, which is a spiritual hipster's dream top layer. I just wore the Kairos duster to a concert I went to this past weekend, and it kept me warm and stylish as fuck, and I literally felt like an anime superhero whenever I wear it. It's just a beautiful statement piece to own. So if you're interested in checking out all their incredible clothing articles, go to onegoldenthread.com to level up your style and comfort while also playing a part in the regeneration of Earth. And use code DRAGON11 at checkout to save 11% off every order. So that's DRAGON11 at checkout to save 11% off every order. Okay, now let's talk about money. Here's a more optimized approach than a high yield savings account for your cash savings. So I live in California. I'm a high earner and I get taxed a fuck ton. Literally, I pay out like 40 to 45% of my income to taxes. So this means any interest that I earn from, say, a high yield savings account, which there are many now, that's also taxed super heavily. In previous editions of the Fit Rich Life newsletter and podcast, I've recommended using high yield savings accounts for one's extra cash, as they're paying out over 5% at the time of this recording. Upon further analysis, though, I've come to realize that this is not the most optimal strategy, as there is a better strategy available for your cash savings. So the Vanguard Treasury Money Market Fund, VUSXX, that is ticker symbol VUSXX, invest primarily in U.S. Treasury securities, and the compound yield year to date is 5.32% at the time of this recording. That is right in line with what high yield savings accounts are paying right now, but you do not pay interest at federal or state level, as they are government securities. So for someone like me who has a high income and gets taxed at one of the highest tax brackets, this is a much more optimal strategy for my cash savings. So instead of putting in a high yield savings account where I would make 5%, but then I would get taxed on those 5% gains, I can instead put it into the Vanguard Treasury Money Market Fund, VUSXX, earn that 5.32%, but not pay taxes on that 5.32% yield that I'm getting. So if you are holding a significant amount of cash on hand like me, putting your money into this will empower you to keep more of your money. And I'm always about continuously optimizing my money, making it work for me as hard as possible. So this is just one of many strategies. It's not going to completely change your life, but it's all about the aggregation of marginal gains. So if you make a little bit more money here, make a little bit more there, save a little bit more there, save a little bit more there, increase this strategy by 1 to 3%, suddenly you are literally outperforming another person by like 10 to 30% plus, because you've stacked all these things together, all these little strategies. So this is one of them. So VUSXX has a $3,000 minimum. So if you're holding less than that, just go with a high yield savings account. But if you're holding more than that, definitely utilize the strategy to improve your money game. So hat tip to Kevin Rose for sharing this money strategy. And lastly, disclaimer, this is not investment advice, nor am I a licensed investment professional. This is just what I am doing. So be sure to do your own due diligence. But yeah, anyways, next, let's talk about my favorite protein bar. So If you're watching the video, I'm holding up a no-cal protein bar, particularly the chocolate salted caramel, which is one of my freaking favorite protein bars and my favorite flavors of protein bars. It's the dipped version, just to be crystal clear. So most protein bars are fat bars in disguise, meaning a majority of the calories in the supposed protein bar comes from fat, not protein. Also, many protein bars have 300 to 500 plus calories, which is crazy because that's like an entire meal. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because people always ask me, what my favorite protein bar is, and they are one of the sponsors of the show. Now, just so you guys know, every single sponsor on this podcast is a product that I love and use basically every single day. And the no-cal dipped protein bars are definitely my favorite protein bar. So the no-cal protein bar is packed with 20 to 21 grams of protein. They're low in fat and only have about 190 to 210 calories, while also being packed with fiber, which keeps you feeling full. Not to mention, they're delicious as fuck. They literally taste like candy bars. So one of my favorite flavors is this chocolate salted caramel. I got it right here if you are watching the video version of this podcast. But if not, you can go Google it. It tastes like a candy bar. And for dessert, I love to stack it with a brown rice cake. It's like the crunchy popcorn texture with salted caramel goodness will take your dessert to the next level while feeling your muscle growth and lighting those taste buds on fire. Loving the food you eat while being in great shape is what the Fit Rich life is all about. So go to nocow.com and use code DRAGON at checkout to save. All right, let's talk about a life strategy or life optimization. Focus on one big goal at a time. My younger self wanted to do so many things, and I was always trying to do all of them simultaneously. This led me to split my focus in so many different ways that little to nothing happened. Later in life, I learned how to focus on one big goal at a time and put all of my energy and attention towards it. This led me to create massive success in achieving that one big goal. When you're constantly jumping from one big goal to another, you waste massive amounts of energy in the form of switching costs. Each time you switch from working on one big goal to another, you expend serious amounts of mental energy going from one mental realm of endeavor to another. Like, it takes time to get focused into this other area or subject. Like, literally, I think the most recent science, you guys can double check, I think it takes about 20 minutes to get like super focused into a particular subject or domain. So if I was to give you an example of what this is like, I'm going to walk you through an analogy. So it's like if you decided to go on a road trip, and instead of picking one location and heading directly there, you decide that you were going to go to Los Angeles, New York, and Austin, Texas, which are in 3 different parts of the United States. But instead of heading directly towards one of them, you would do this instead. On day 1, you're in Seattle, this is where you're starting, and you decide to start heading towards New York, which is one of your goals. You want to go to New York, which means you're driving across the entire US. Then 3 days into the road trip, you are in the middle of nowhere in the flyover states. Sorry, guys who live there. I'm sure it's awesome and beautiful there. I've been to some of them. They're great, but I'm just making a point here. 3 days into the road trip, you're in the middle of nowhere in the flyover states, and instead of going to New York City or continuing to go to New York City, you decide 3 days into your trip that you actually want to go to LA. So you shift your trajectory to head towards LA. Then another 3 days into your road trip, you decide that you actually now want to go to Miami, even though you just got to Utah and you're not too far from LA. So now you're heading back across the US towards Miami, and maybe you almost get to Texas, only several hours away from Austin, which is one of your goals. And then you decide you actually now want to go to Toronto. to Toronto, which is a new goal that you just randomly came up with, even though your original goal was to go to New York, Austin, and LA. So you change course again. So far, you haven't reached a single city that was a part of your original goal, and you've already put in well over a week's worth of driving, but you've basically gotten nowhere. So this was me for most of my life up until my mid-30s when I finally started working with the coach, and they basically forced me to choose one big goal and focus all my energy on that instead of continuously getting distracted and jumping from one big goal to another, then I'd have some other, oh, now I want to do this, right? Which it's not bad to explore, but if you want to fucking crush goals, you have to stay laser focused on one big goal at a time. Now, there is a trick to accomplish more than one big goal at a time, but I'll talk about that in a second. So they basically held me accountable to staying on track and taking small actions every day and every week towards my top goal. And faster than ever before, I started achieving really big goals. So first, I got my dream body. Then I got the money, became a millionaire, became a multimillionaire. Then I started doing the work that I really wanted to do, the work that lights my heart on fire, my spirit on fire, my mind on fire. And then I was living my fit, rich life. So later in life, I would go on to learn that you could actually achieve 2 to 3 big goals simultaneously if and only if you had the right support in place, which for me included having one or more coaches and being in a mastermind group that supported the 2 to 3 big goals I was pursuing. So that is the life strategy for this podcast episode, is to focus on one big goal at a time. All right. Unless you are open to getting a coach or multiple coaches and being a part of a mastermind where you will have the support to go really fast towards 2 to 3 goals at the same time, which I've done now, but I'm 41. I didn't really figure this out till my mid-30s. So if you are younger than me, hopefully this will save you a massive amount of time and frustration, because you'll just basically flipping around all over the place but getting nowhere. Or if you want, you can get support with a coach and a mastermind. So speaking of coaching, let's talk about my fitness, money, and life coaching program, Fit Rich Life Coaching. So coaching changed my life. I spent 20 years trying to get abs and a muscular physique. No joke, 20 fucking years. I tried everything, and about 20 years into trying to figure it out on my own, I thought I just didn't have the right genes. Then I decided that as a last ditch effort, I would try working with an online fitness coach who already had the physique I wanted and had helped other people get a physique I would be proud to embody. And after only 6 months of working with my online fitness coach, I got the abs, I got the muscular physique, and heck, I even started posting shirtless photos online. Turns out my genes weren't the problem. I was. And all it took was a few months of guidance from someone who had what I wanted. It turned out to be one of the best investments of my life. My only regret is that I waited until around age 31 or 32 to get an online fitness coach. If I'd started getting fitness coaching from someone who had the body I wanted in my 20s, I would have saved myself 10 years of frustration and extreme dissatisfaction with my body. A couple years later, I repeated the same thing with my money because my money situation was a total fucking dumpster fire. I was 6 years behind on my taxes. I'd racked up a ton of credit card debt, had unpaid school loans, and my money was causing me massive amounts of stress, and I felt so ashamed. So I started working with money and career coaches and joined a money mastermind, and I went from, no joke, $80,000 in debt to becoming a millionaire in just 2 years. And then I became a multimillionaire by year 3. And I don't say this to impress you. I say this to impress upon you what is possible when you get the right support. So At age 40, I decided to get coaching and joined a mastermind to bring my two biggest dreams alive. So this is how I completed two big dreams at the same time. Those dreams were to have my own successful podcast, the Fit Rich Life podcast that you're listening to right now, and to have my own fitness and money coaching program, Fit Rich Life Coaching. With the support of the coaches and the mastermind, I launched my podcast within 4 months of starting work with my coach, and my fitness and money coaching program has been started, it's been profitable since month 1, and we did 6 figures in the first year. Massive success. And this is all while I was doing podcast, doing my Stanford startup, Garten, and coaching. So I was able to crush 3 different endeavors in business and have a fuck ton of fun and live my fit rich life, jumping in the ocean all like post workout, living here in Santa Cruz and loving life, staying fit, getting richer. And I did that by having the support of coaches and a mastermind. So even better than the success of those businesses is the deep heart and meaning I feel from acting as a guide and catalyst for the transformation of others' fitness, money, and life. My coaching team and I have empowered Fit Rich Life members to get the body of their dreams, break free from debt, increase earning power, get jobs they love, start their own businesses, become investors, attain whole new levels of wealth, and actually start living a life they truly love now, not at some distant point in the future. Fit Rich Life Coaching is a done with you program where we give you all the tools and teach you all the skills you need to build your own fit rich life that you absolutely love. And we provide the support and accountability to get you there in a few months instead of a few decades, or not even in this life. Many people finished their life not ever doing the things that they really wanted to do. So my mission is to empower people to practically design and truly live a life worth living. And that's what we do in Fit Rich Life Coaching, is we support people living their unique, special, individual, customized, fit rich life now and for the rest of their lives. So stop trying to do it on your own. That is literally what held me back. When I finally got the support I needed and deserved, then everything transformed for the better so much faster, literally like 10 times faster. So if you're ready to finally get the body of dreams, master your money, do work you love, and start living a life worth truly living, go to fitrichlife.com/coaching to book your free consultation today. You can also just connect with me on Instagram at Justin David Carl and message me the word coaching to find out if the program would be a good fit for you. So I only work with a limited amount of people, and I only work with people that are a good fit for the program. And obviously I'd want the program to be a good fit for you. So I'm doing free consultations right now for the next month or so. So don't be shy about just booking a consultation with me, either at fitrichlife.com/coaching or dropping me DM on Instagram with the word coaching, and we can set up a time to do a free consultation and see if you're a good fit for the program. You got nothing to lose. Worst case scenario, you get a free coaching session with me. And I charge a fuck ton, literally $900 an hour for a one-off coaching session. So right now I'm doing some free coaching consultations. So, all right, Fit Rich fam, that is it for this episode. Remember to sign up for my free newsletter at fitrichlife.com/newsletter to get weekly tips, tools, and strategies to elevate your fitness, money, and life to the next level. And please take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Your support empowers me to keep making free, empowering content and reach more people. And it would mean the world to me to have your 5-star review. Or if you prefer your podcast entertainment on YouTube, I've finally gone to full video production, as I mentioned, and I would be honored if you subscribe to my channel and left a thumbs up. So now take one nugget from this podcast episode and put it into action today or this week. Literally nothing changes unless you do. So stop the mental masturbation. I know it feels good, but it doesn't get anything done. Take one nugget one piece of information from this podcast and put it into action. So knowledge is potential power. Knowledge put into action is true power. And you can use knowledge put into action to transform your life. So taking new inspired action is what will empower you to proactively design and truly live your own fit, rich life. Thanks for tuning in. If you found the episode to be valuable, please share it with a friend. Sending you all tons of positive energy and plenty of dragon magic. Yeah!